everyone, Yoel here again for HebrewInIsrael.net. I'm really glad you joined me again, and I hope you enjoyed the previous video about the three consonants that I find people having great difficulty pronouncing. And this week I want to talk about one consonant, just one, not three. I'm not going to drive you crazy anymore. I want to talk about just one consonant. And this is a very interesting consonant because really across the entire board of people who speak Hebrew, everyone pronounces it the same way, more or less, except for maybe one or two groups. And it's very interesting that today in modern Hebrew, really no one pronounces it the way they used to. And there's actually a reason for this. The people who founded modern Hebrew, the people who were promoting this, talking modern Hebrew amongst Jews, were people who are also trying to move away from the old accent. It's a very sad subject, but a lot of the first Hebrew speakers, people who kind of brought Hebrew back as an everyday life language versus using it more in liturgy and maybe quoting things here and there, a lot of the people who were involved in this were people who were moving away from keeping Torah, people who were moving away from the old world, from the old imagery of a Jew, and they were trying to kind of change things. So one of the interesting things that happened was that the little Resh, which is considered to be more of a tongue consonant, was removed more to be something in the back of the throat. This is actually an imitation of what seems to be more of like the French R. So in English you say R, which is kind of like more your tongue flooding out and pressing on the sides of the teeth. So this was actually pronounced as a R, Resh, and it comes really from rolling a little bit in the back of the throat. But the original Resh, or Resh, was actually a rolling R, the way most people did in the ancient world. Actually, to tell the truth, a lot of the harsher sounds were more common in the ancient world, and what we're hearing today, the more softened sounds, are probably something that came in a little bit later. For example, it's very interesting that the th in English was probably originally maybe more of a D sound, and this is not unusual. This is actually something quite common in many languages. But a lot of people turn around to me, if these are students of mine, people online, friends, and so on, and they ask me what exactly was the sound of this consonant, the consonant Resh, because they hear one thing over here, something over there. They speak with one person, with another person, and again, we're looking at a lot of the influence that has to do with people speaking modern Hebrew, or accents kind of slowing down, vanishing, and so on. And really, in truth, if you go around every old traditional community, no matter where they are, except for maybe Tripoli, they had like a resh. It was something that they did. I also once met some Iraqi Jew who was an American who wanted to argue it was a resh. I think that one of the reasons he did this was because he just had difficulty rolling his R's. And I've actually bumped into this. People who want to deliberately argue that a consonant is sounded one way and not another because they have a personal difficulty pronouncing the original sound. But it's very clear that in Europe, North Africa, Yemen, the East, anywhere you go to, the resh was pronounced by rolling your tongue on the top of your mouth, and there's no doubt about this. There really is no other real tradition about this, except for what came in later on by modern Hebrew, where the resh was moved into the back of the throat. So, for those people who want to insist on pronouncing older sounds, and I'm actually one of those as well, the resh was pronounced as rolling your R and not as rolling a sound in the back of your throat. Thus, you should know there are more consonants which are sounded differently today than what they were sounded back then. I mentioned last time the letter het, which was pronounced by most traditions in the back of the throat, but more of a subtle sound versus the ch, which is usually associated with the kaf. Again, there are some historical reconstructions that can be done that show it completely differently, but it's very difficult to reconstruct everything. But there are certain sounds that we know as fact. One of them is the resh, and hopefully this answers people's questions. Again, if you have any questions about specific things in Hebrew, don't be concerned about bothering me. Send me an email to HebrewInIsrael@gmail.com. Don't forget to go to the Facebook page. If you're already on the Facebook page, make sure that you every once in a while look, because Facebook algorithms sometimes mess up the ability to see, and if you are interested in the information, then I'm more than glad to giving it for free. Just make sure you're able to see it, and don't forget to press the like button here or on Facebook. It really helps spread the word. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it answers this interesting question I get every once in a while, and hopefully you'll be able to interact with this, and maybe some people make some interesting comments. Maybe they heard something different, or they know something different. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this. Kol tov.